You might have seen geniuses, but what about a boy with an unbelievable IQ of 210? He's just a kid and still inventing rockets and spaceships. Unfortunately, he lives in an ignorant society that doesn't realize his worth until the world gets attacked by the aliens. What seems like just another regular day suddenly changes into a mysterious one when the space authorities notice an unidentified flying object in the air. It's not an enemy's drone. It's Jimmy Neutron. It's just early in the morning. But Jimmy decides to complete a crucial mission from going to the school. He had received some signals from space last night, so he decided to leave a message for the aliens in space. He grabs his rocket and flies out of the atmosphere along with his friend Carl and his robot dog Goddard. Meanwhile, his parents, Judy and Hugh, are totally clueless about their child's morning activities. Judy is looking around for the toaster, but she doesn't know Jimmy used the toaster to make a communication satellite and launches it in space. It doesn't work properly, but Jimmy's brain works like magic, and he immediately thinks of a solution and fixes the satellite. Afterwards, he sends Carl down with a parachute and he heads back to his house. After the bumpy ride, he lands on the roof and breaks the chimney for the 9th time. Judy calls him down and scolds him for playing recklessly with dangerous experiments. She doesn't know what a great genius her kid is. However, Jimmy isn't going to stop his hobby so soon. He has built robots and machines all around his house. From brushing his teeth to tying his shoelaces, everything is done by robots. They malfunction sometimes, but Jimmy always learns from failure and upgrades his inventions. He rushes to catch the school, but gets late. Instead of getting sad, he considers the situation a good chance to test one of his latest inventions, Super Bubble Gum Mobile. Jimmy chews the gum to form a giant bubble and gets inside it. Then he jumps after the bus like a bouncy ball. Unfortunately, Jimmy gets overexcited and crashes into the tree. Carl is also stuck in the same tree. They both get down and head to the school. Their teacher asks each student to come to the board and presents their research. The first one is an arrogant girl named Cindy Vortex. She is also good at studies and always tries to surpass Jimmy. Today she shares her research about dinosaurs, but Jimmy proves it wrong, which makes Cindy angry. The next presenter is a goofy boy named Sheen Esteves. Though he is Jimmy's close friend, he is a total idiot who brings an action figure as his research project. Carl is next, but all he has is an inhaler which he accidentally sprays in his eyes. The class is interrupted when the cool kid Nick enters the room. Jimmy ignores him and proceeds to show his latest invention, the shrinking gun. However, it only works after the lesson is over and nobody witnesses Jimmy's hard work. On the way home with Sheen and Carl, Jimmy notices a poster announcing the opening ceremony of Retroland theme park. It's happening tonight, and Jimmy really wants to go there. Nick suggests that he should sneak out of his house, but Jimmy prefers using science. He turns on his jet backpack and flies around to grab some oysters and coal. Then he reaches home and heads to his underground secret lab. He feeds an aluminum can to Goddard and proceeds to check on his inventions. Jimmy is simultaneously working on the invisible hamster, girl-eating plant, and burping soda. Afterwards, he goes to his computer to check if the aliens have replied to his message, but unfortunately, there's no response. Jimmy remembers about the oysters and coal and subjects them to high temperature and pressure to produce pearls and diamonds. Then he gifts them to Judy so she may allow him to go to the park opening. Judy doesn't even realize that Jimmy has created a billion-dollar diamond and she immediately refuses to let him go out tonight. While trying to find another solution, Jimmy accidentally launches a small rocket and destroys the living room. Judy had just cleaned the house. She gets really angry and grounds Jimmy. Meanwhile, the aliens in space called Yolkians have found Jimmy's satellite and presented it to their king, Goobot. He calls his assistant, who turns on the satellite, which displays a message left by Jimmy. He introduces himself and shows a picture of his parents, which draws Goobot's attention. He believes that Judy and Hugh are going to be a delicious meal, so immediately orders his spaceship to head towards Earth. Later that night, Hugh comes to meet Jimmy and advises him to stop playing with big people's stuff like rockets. Both of his parents don't appreciate their genius kid. After Hugh leaves, Jimmy decides to play the rebel card. He calls his friends and announces that it's time to sneak out. Jimmy plans to shrink himself and turn himself big again after getting out of the house. Unfortunately, the shrinking gun falls in the living room and Hugh mistakes it for the television remote. He keeps pressing the buttons while talking to Judy. He's so lost in the conversation that he doesn't realize the changes around him. He is telling Judy that once his parents didn't let him go to a bachelor's party, so Hugh sneaked out, but he believes Jimmy can't get out of the front door without passing by them. As he says that, tiny Jimmy grabs his gun and gets out in the street. All the kids in the neighborhood are heading to the park opening except Cindy and her friend. She is trying to combine different exercises to get the best result of workout. Jimmy meets Sheen and Carl and they enter the park together. It looks even better than the poster, full of superhero cosplays, rare animals, and most importantly, insanely fun rides. Though Carl is suffering from nausea and asthma, he still accompanies his friends on every ride. Nick is also there and reminds Jimmy that he did right by deceiving his parents to enjoy the big night. Meanwhile, Judy and Hugh regret being hard on their son and go to check on him. Goddard gets under the blanket and pretends to be Jimmy. The parents don't realize Jimmy isn't there and they confess how much they love him. They know that Jimmy is a special boy and they don't want to punish him. They also plan to take Jimmy to the theme park next weekend. Unfortunately, Jimmy doesn't know any of that. He also doesn't know about the high alert signals on his computer. The aliens are arriving on Earth any minute. Judy hears a weird noise from the kitchen and tells Hugh to check on it. The aliens have broken into their house and kidnapped both of them. Meanwhile, Jimmy and his friends are walking back home thinking how awesome it will be if they can get rid of their parents for a while and enjoy uninterrupted freedom. Carl suddenly notices the alien spaceship going back and he mistakes it as a shooting star. All the three boys make a wish that their parents may disappear for a while. Little do they know, their wish is granted already. The kids sneak back into their house and go to sleep like nothing happened. The next morning, when Jimmy wakes up, he immediately heads to the kitchen and asks for breakfast, but gets no reply. Both his mom and dad are missing. Jimmy finds a note on the refrigerator saying that his parents went to Florida for a few days. Surprisingly, Sheen has the same note. Not just him, all the kids in the neighborhood found the same note, and their parents are missing. Jimmy asks Goddard to scan the area, and he gets to know that all the adults have disappeared from the whole city. There are no parents to stop their kids from breaking the rules. The kids can wear mismatched clothes, ride animals, eat candies, and junk food as much as they want. The restaurants, school, and all the offices have become playgrounds for the children. They keep on partying all night. The next morning, Jimmy wakes up with a headache. He has played enough. Now he wants to return home to his parents, but they are still not back yet. The children get on the news channel and explain the current situation of the city. They have been celebrating since the last day, but now they want their parents. They don't have anyone to feed them with healthy homemade food, treat their wounds, and tuck them into bed. The reports of stomachache and constipation have reached an alarming number, but only the parents know how to fix it. Jimmy is also feeling lonely and wonders how his parents can go to sleep without saying goodnight to him. Hearing this, Goddard shows him the video from last night. After seeing it closely, Jimmy realizes that his parents promised to see him in the morning. Why did they say that if they were going to Florida? Jimmy suspects the whole event and studies the notes left by the parents. All of them are the same and don't match with the parents' handwriting. Jimmy also notices the alerts on his computer. After going through all the detected signals, he finally realizes that the aliens had visited the Earth. Jimmy doesn't tell everyone about his discovery and decides to rescue the parents by himself. He only informs Sheen and Carl, but Sheen discloses it to all the kids. They confront Jimmy and ask where their parents are. Jimmy shows them a map and the path created by the leftover signals. The aliens have taken their parents to a constellation called the Orion star system that is 3 million light years away from Earth. The kids decide to join the mission and ask Jimmy for instructions. He decides to depart on the coming Friday. That gives them 2 days to collect radioactive elements, design and test our fusion engines, and build their fleet of interstellar warships. From the next day, they start collecting all the material in sight and turn theme park rides into spaceships with the help of Jimmy. They get ready in time, but there's still a 5% risk of failure, and they all will blow up in the middle of space. Despite these circumstances, the kids are ready to test their fate for the sake of their parents. They all get in the spaceships they built and turn them on. Jimmy keeps praying for success while passing through the Earth atmosphere, and luckily, they all safely get out to the no-gravity zone. They pass by several constellations and witness the celestial events no man has ever seen before. Their smooth journey is interrupted by the sudden meteor shower. The kids don't give up and face the calamity with bravery. They find an asteroid with a bearable temperature and decide to take a break. Some of them light a campfire and tell stories to each other while Jimmy is quietly observing the sky. He believes that he is not tall enough for his age, and he wonders if will ever be the school's popular guy. Carl suggests that they should not worry about the future. They have enough problems in the present. Hearing this, everyone starts sharing how their parents took care of them. They must rescue them as soon as possible. After resting for a while, they continue their journey and reach the alien planet, Yolkians. Jimmy divides the kids into 2 teams. One of them stays outside the planet while the other team sneaks in to understand the situation they're going to deal with. Surprisingly, the aliens have progressed far more than humans can imagine. It's not possible to just attack them and take over the planet. Jimmy and the kids sneak into their palace and spot their parents. They are being controlled by a mind device. Jimmy tries to call his father, but the guards notice him and catch the kids. They have also captured the other team of kids and present all of them before their king, Goobot. He shows them a video to explain why they abducted the humans. They plan to sacrifice them to Poultra, the mightiest god of the Yolkians. The aliens also show their gratitude to Jimmy. Without his satellite message, they would never be able to find a small planet like Earth. They throw the kids in the dungeon and give away Goddard to a mad alien scientist. The kids blame Jimmy for all this mess and ask why he didn't listen to his parents when they advised him not to talk to strangers. Cindy tells everyone to stop scolding Jimmy as he never wanted them to get abducted by aliens. Afterwards, she tells Jimmy to gather himself and use his big head. Though she hates him, she knows that Jimmy is the only guy who can get them out of here. Jimmy feels motivated and his brain starts working again. He modifies his cell phone to contact Goddard and tells him to pretend that he is in self-destruction mode. When the aliens run away from him, Goddard rushes to save the kids. Meanwhile, the parents are gathered around a huge egg. It cracks, and Poultra steps out. He looks like a giant chicken, but a deadly one. The kids break in the ceremony and ask Jimmy to plan their next step. Jimmy tells Sheen to steal one of the alien spaceships and the other kids will distract the aliens. Jimmy rushes to take over the control tower and guide the parents towards the spaceship. The kids also get in the spaceship and depart. The aliens are still following them continuously. Goobot sends them a message and makes fun of Jimmy's short height. Jimmy gets triggered and gets out to teach the aliens a memorable lesson. He uses his shrinking gun in reverse and becomes a giant. The aliens get scared and promise to never look back at Earth. All the kids unite with their parents, and so does Jimmy. He tells his parents that he thought that he was smart enough to do all of the things on his own and didn't need his parents. But he was wrong. His parents also admit that they are really proud to have a genius son like him. Not every family is lucky enough to experience traveling in an alien spaceship. No matter if you are a genius or a superhero, you will always need your parents.